Hello, my friends. Today's summary tells the story of a teenager who runs away from home after losing his mother and finds himself in a strange relationship that leads him on the path to maturity through struggles and hardships. But will he be able to overcome his problems successfully? Let's watch and find out. The movie begins with a boy named Hal, who is staring at a picture of his late mother. He's deeply sad and withdrawn, living in a small treehouse away from his father's home. He does this to avoid being around his stepmother too much. After a while, he goes to talk to his sister Lucy and tells her that their father has invited them to a restaurant for lunch. When they arrive, his stepmother starts talking about how she's going to run the family companies. Hal gets upset, thinking about how she used to be the company's secretary. He believes she married his father out of greed, and it's clear he despises her. When they return home, Hal begins writing in his diary, recording everything that happens. He even writes about his desire to have a relationship with his stepmother. The next day, Lucy leaves for her university without saying goodbye. Hal runs after her car to stop her, but she ignores him and drives away, knowing he wouldn't let her leave, especially since she's the closest person to him after their mother's death. Later, Hal has lunch with his father. His stepmother suggests he should get a job before starting school, but he refuses, thinking she just wants him out of the house so she can take over everything. His father gets upset and tells him he needs to think about his future and start moving on from his grief. Hal feels hurt and walks away. After that, he goes to the lake where he finds the boat his mother drowned in. When he returns home, he overhears his stepmother telling his father she needs some space because Hal hates her and she can't stand how he treats her. His father reassures her, saying Hal doesn't hate her, he just can't accept that another woman has taken his mother's place. Later, Hal asks his father to take a walk with him by the lake. While walking, Hal tells him that he found the boat his mother drowned in and insists there must have been a reason she died, since the lake isn't very deep and anyone could swim in it. Hal suspects his stepmother killed his mother. But his father explains that his mother had taken a large dose of drugs because she wanted to end her life. When she went to the lake, the drugs took effect, she fell off the boat, and drowned. He admits he hid the truth from Hal to protect him from more pain, urging him to let go of his grief and focus on his future. But Hal refuses to believe him and stays firm in his suspicions. Back at home, Hal sees his mother's death report and realizes his father was telling the truth. Later, he tries to open his box to get his diary, but he gets a call from Lucy and steps outside to talk. His stepmother seizes the chance, sneaks into his room, and steals the box. While on the phone with Lucy, Hal tells her he suspects his stepmother killed their mother because he can't believe she would commit suicide for no reason. Meanwhile, his stepmother photographs the pages of his diary to use against him, since he wrote about wanting a relationship with her. Hal then goes to the lake, flips over the boat, and discovers a hole in it, convinced someone tampered with it on purpose to kill his mother. He returns to his treehouse to think things through. There, his stepmother shows up with his diary, reading aloud the part where he confessed wanting her. She threatens to expose him unless he leaves immediately for London. Hal ignores her threats and accuses her of deliberately damaging the boat and drugging his mother's coffee so she wouldn't be conscious when she drowned. She insists she had no motive to kill his mother, taunting him to reveal what he really wants. Hal snaps in anger and nearly kills her, but in the end, he gives in and sleeps with her. Afterwards, she tells him he must leave the next day. Forced against his will, Hal travels to London, feeling defeated and resentful that his stepmother manipulated him into submission. Once he arrives, he finds himself sitting alone in the city, hopeless and isolated, knowing no one there. At night, Hal walked alone, looking for a place to sleep. The police approached him and asked where he lived since he was still underage. He lied to them, saying he was staying at a student house. When he realized they had seen through him, he ran away and eventually climbed onto a rooftop, where he slept in an abandoned room. The next morning, he woke up and saw a woman walking down the street who looked exactly like his mother. He followed her, watching her closely until she reached a hotel. There, he learned her name was Kate and that she worked in the hotel's HR department. He kept an eye on her, drawn to her because she reminded him so much of his mother. Eventually, he approached her and asked for help finding a job, explaining that he couldn't find a place to sleep and that his situation was difficult. Kate told him there were no positions available, but gave him her card to contact her later. He persuaded her to help, and she told him the only job available was in the kitchen. Hal agreed immediately, promising he wouldn't let her down. It was clear he wanted to work there mainly so he could see Kate all the time. Kate took him to the kitchen and introduced him to the head chef, who began teaching him everything. The chef was strict and critical, never satisfied with anything Hal did. After work, Hal left the hotel and continued to follow Kate, discovering that she was seeing another man. He then returned to the hotel and, noticing the resemblance, compared her to his late mother. The next day, he returned to work, trying to adjust to his new life. During a break, he spoke with the chef about work, but his mind was mostly on observing Kate and her actions. After work, he followed her as usual, learning where she lived. When she left the apartment, he snuck inside and went into her room. He noted that she lived across from the hotel where he worked, so he climbed to a higher floor to watch her room. He rummaged through her personal belongings and discovered that she had been married before. Suddenly, Kate entered her apartment. Hal jumped out the window before she could see him. She noticed the open window but didn't suspect anything. Hal continued watching her closely throughout the night, paying attention to all her actions. The next day, he returned to work, now more comfortable in the kitchen and with a better relationship with the chef. During his break, he went up to the hotel rooftop again to keep an eye on Kate's room. When he came down, he ran into Alistair, the hotel manager, who told him that kitchen staff were strictly forbidden from going to the roof. He warned Hal that if he went up again, he would be fired. Hal complied because he needed the job. Later, Kate complimented him, saying she admired his personality, especially because he learned quickly and was always energetic. That night, Hal went up to the roof again, ignoring the manager's warning, and began watching Kate through binoculars. He was shocked to see Alistair in her room. Hal rushed to her apartment to confirm what he had seen. While spying on them, he discovered that Alistair was married and was only using Kate to satisfy his own desires. There was no love or commitment between them. The next day, Hal went to the police station to file a complaint against his stepmother, accusing her of killing his mother. The officer asked what motive she could have, and Hal explained that she had been his father's secretary and was greedy for his wealth and possessions. The officer didn't believe him, leaving Hal frustrated. Hal returned to the hotel and went up to the roof as usual. Unfortunately, Alistair saw him and realized he had been spying on Kate. He threatened Hal, saying he would tell Kate about him. Hal countered, warning that if Alistair exposed him, he would reveal Alistair's affair to his wife. Alistair laughed and said he had no proof. Hal insisted the tattoo on his arm was proof. Enraged, Alistair decided to fire him on the spot. After a while, Alistair returned to his apartment, and was surprised to see Hal playing with his son and wife. Alistair had assumed that Hal had told his wife everything, but he discovered that Hal hadn't said a word. Hal was actually waiting at the apartment to get Alistair's signature to return to work. To avoid raising suspicions, Hal told his wife that Alistair had fired him for falling asleep at work and that he was there to ask for forgiveness. Hal pressured Alistair into signing the papers, and Alistair was clearly frustrated with Hal's cleverness and how he took advantage of the situation. The next day, Hal returned to work, and Kate called him to her office. Hal assumed that Alistair had told her he was watching her, but in reality, she didn't know anything. She told him that she had recommended him for a room service position, which was a great opportunity for him to wear proper attire and earn double his previous salary. Hal agreed and started his new job, though he wasn't particularly excited. At night, Hal went to Kate's house to watch her, as usual, but this time, unexpectedly, Alistair was also monitoring her and knew how Hal had been spying. The next day, Kate gave Hal his paycheck and invited him for a drink after work. They went to a bar and sat together. Kate asked if he had ever been in love before, and Hal said the only person he had ever loved was dead, referring to his mother. They enjoyed their time together and drank, and it was clear from Kate's looks that she was attracted to him. She brought him home under the pretext that she wanted him to escort her inside, and she started getting suspiciously close to him. Hal tried to keep his distance because he still saw her as a reminder of his mother. Despite his initial resistance, their relationship gradually developed. The next day, Hal went to her office and asked her out, but she refused and told him to forget what had happened between them because they had been drunk. Later, a co-worker told Hal that someone was waiting for him in room 405. He went there and found Kate, who told him they needed to talk about what happened the night before. Hal admitted that he knew it had been wrong and that she felt guilty, and they agreed not to bring it up again to avoid discomfort. Their relationship continued to grow, and they became happier together. While Kate was on her way home, Hal, as usual, watched her. He noticed Alistair trying to approach her, but she ignored him. Hal followed her to the house and tried to talk to her. He gave her the drink and went up to the roof to observe what was happening, discovering that Alistair was attacking her because she had decided to end their relationship. Hal jumped in through the window and tried to protect Kate. Alistair realized that Kate had decided to leave him. Later, Hal told Kate that he had been watching her from the window the whole time and had seen what happened between them. Kate was upset at first, but Hal explained that he had been watching her because he was drawn to her, as she reminded him of his mother, and she accepted his explanation. The next day, Hal sat in front of her house, watching her return from work. Kate ignored him completely and went inside. Later, she came out and asked what he wanted. Hal said he wanted to apologize for what he had done. Instead of being upset, she thanked him for saving her from Alistair. She let him into her house to tell him her story. Hal shared about his mother's death and his suspicions that his stepmother might have been involved. He showed her a photo of his mother, and explained that he was alone and had nobody. He asked Kate to wear his mother's dress so he could remember her. Kate put it on, and Hal broke down crying. Over time, they grew closer, and their relationship developed further. Hal returned to work, and a co-worker told him that his father was in the manager's office and wanted to see him. When he arrived, he was surprised to find his stepmother, Vera, who told him she was glad to see him again. Kate stayed close to him, especially after learning that Vera had killed his mother. Vera tried to kick Kate out of the office, claiming they needed to discuss a family matter. Later, Hal's father told him that his company was bankrupt and that he needed to use the old family property for a government project to pay off debts. But he needed Hal's approval because the house had belonged to his mother, and her will stated that no one could make decisions about it without her son's consent. Hal initially refused, saying he wouldn't agree unless Vera was punished for killing his mother. Vera tried to manipulate him, saying that his father owed the government $800,000 and that the only way to help him was to approve the project. The next day, Hal left Vera at work and went to his father's house to take revenge. When he arrived, he kidnapped her and took her to the lake. He held her hands and threw her into the water, making her die the same way his mother did. Hal confirmed that Vera had sabotaged the boat and caused his mother's death. He felt relieved after avenging his mother, who had been his most precious person. Hal then went to Kate and told her he would return to live with his father, and that he had finally discovered the truth about his mother's death. Kate was overjoyed and told him that if he ever visited London again, he had to stop by to see her. Hal agreed but couldn't confess his love because she was older and resembled his mother. He smiled and walked away. And that's how the movie ends. Don't forget, if you liked it, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel.